Welcome back to the funniest movie ever. Here's a pro tip from the pod. Laces out, Dan. This week we're talking Ace Ventura Pet Detective. But first, let's check in with my co-host Rip. How are you? What's new? And what have you been watching?
So I have something written down here because I always forget what I've been up to because I can't really remember what I wore even yesterday.
Same.
But I'm going to go off script for a second because we had a little chat beforehand about our bad backs. And I want to ask you a question. I'm laying in bed last night and I want to say it's like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
And I get the fucking sharpest cramp in my calf.
That's the worst.
It's the worst, right?
Those suck.
And I feel even worse for my partner because I sprung up like a fucking,
shot up out of bed.
like a fucking demon or something. And she's like, "Oh my God, what's wrong? Are you okay?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not. My calf."
I'm freaking dying over here.
And she's like trying to help. She's like, "Oh, like you got to get up. You got to walk on it." I'm like, "No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I don't have to get up. Shut up."
Walk it off, Marty.
And I'm just like, "No, I'm shaking it in bed and thinking that that's going to do the trick."
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I don't think it did, but it did go away eventually. But my God,
Those cramps in your calf, those are a different kind of pain. It feels like your leg's being torn off by its own muscle. It's just really shitty.
what was I doing in my dreams to experience
You
this?
were obviously catching a 40-yard toss.
So that has happened to you.
Oh, of course. Plenty of times you're just laying there and whether it be a calf cramp or, you roll over and you throw out your entire back in the process. Yeah, definitely have been there.
Anyway, yeah, most painful thing I've ever experienced until the next one, which I have to assume it's going to be the other leg tonight, right?
Yeah,
That's how they
exactly.
work. They come in twos and threes.
Yeah, balance 2s and 3s. You sound like my mom.
What have I been watching? I haven't really been watching much. Over the weekend, my partner did fall asleep early, as she normally does.
Yes.
Nice little couch nap. And I'm flipping through like the 17 different streaming services I have. And of all the movies and shows I could have landed on, I somehow landed on Mrs. Doubtfire.
Ooh, interesting.
I have not seen this movie since I was a child. Like, it came out in 1994.
Yeah.
I think I saw it in like 98.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then never watched it again. I remembered the general gist. That is, Robin Williams is Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yeah.
But that's completely it.
Did you like it? Did it hold up?
I mean, I don't know. Like, I enjoyed it, but it took me a while to get over the fact that it's a grown man dressing like Mrs. Doubtfire to secretly hang out with his kids. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, yeah. When you look at some of these concepts now, it's like a little weird.
Like, I really wanted it to feel wholesome, but it felt like I was forcing it to feel wholesome. Do you know what I mean?
It was definitely wholesome in the 90s. I don't know.
So this is what really gets me. Do you remember how the kids find out that Mrs. Doubtfire is their dad? That he's Robin Williams.
Yeah, he isn't he saving Pierce Brosnan? And like his mask gets all
that's
ripped up.
That's the big reveal in the end to everybody.
Oh, okay.
But the kids find out that Robin Williams is Mrs. Doubtfire
I think it just
when
came back to me.
The son walks into the bathroom
and she's peeing.
And she's standing up
peeing.
which is so much worse. And like, I don't even know if that's funny in the 90s. I think it's just kind of disturbing.
It's weird.
Right? That kid is scarred for fucking life.
You ever walk in on your parents peeing? Strange.
No, have you? I haven't.
Yeah, that'll fuck up a kid. Yeah, definitely.
That's not getting cut. One thing I will say though that I did take away from this is there's this whole like little subplot going on where Robin Williams is like pitching a kids TV show.
Yeah.
He's just like playing with dinosaurs and shit. And I had completely forgot about that era of TV shows, like Pee Wee Herman
Mr.
or like
Dress Up
Mr. Dress Up or
yeah.
Rogers, right? Like where it was just a dude like talking to kids through the TV,
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know if it's because I'm like a 32-year-old man now, but I'm just like, I don't even think they make like kid shows, period. Like outside of like what, fucking Paw Patrol.
I'm sure they do. Like, you clearly don't have kids, so like,
no, but
I don't know.
I know what you're saying, but
we're
also
the authority on kids TV today.
I have like read things out there that say, it's really hard to make any kind of like content for kids nowadays in that kind of format because if it's not something that they can digest in like a 30-second clip, then like they're just not interested.
And whose fault is that? Fucking social media.
I don't know. I guess.
Like, social media and
like, is it going to say it's my fault?
It's your fault, Rip. It's your fault that kids have no attention span. No, it's fucking, we gave kids iPads way too early. And like now they're like, okay, well, if it doesn't give me instant gratification in 4 seconds, I'm out and I'm going to cry.
Fair, but also, I mean, is that any different than like sitting your kid in front of the fucking TV anyways?
Well, this is like 30 minutes of Mr. Rogers where he teaches them like life lessons and like how to be a good neighbor and a nice person.
I guess.
I think we need some more of that. Like, we need more hellos in the neighborhood.
I'm willing to risk putting my kid in front of a TV where there's a strange man talking to him if it means he doesn't have to consume TikTok content for hours on end.
Look at the trade-off. I think, come on.
All right, what have you been watching?
This past week or so, my partner and I, we watched the Scream remake, Redux. I don't know what you call it. It's like a continuation / sequel and reimagining.
So what number is this now?
5
out of
6.
Okay.
Yeah, the 6 is the newest one that came out like a year or two ago. But yeah, we watched that one and it's got like some tie-ins to the original Scream franchise.
Oh, nice.
It's nice to see David Arquette back and Courtney Cox rejoins the cast.
I'm not gonna lie, I have no idea who David Arquette is.
Yeah, if you saw him, you'd be like, oh yeah, David Arquette.
I see the name, I hear the name all the time. I know.
You know exactly
Courtney
who he
Cox
is.
Arquette? Is that?
Yeah, well, because they were married at one point.
Okay, so that's no idea who.
This
he
is all
is,
stuff
though.
my girlfriend told me as we were watching it. Like I had no idea. I did not know that.
He could be completely made up.
He's not a real person. But yeah, watched that and like I don't know, it was all right. It's also got Huey from The Boys in it. If you're
I know who that is.
One of the Quaids. Yeah, it was good. Decent movie. Like it's just a slasher. It's nothing.
Nice.
Turn your brain off. Kind of watch.
Where does this one take place? I think the newest one took place in like New York, right? And that was supposed to be like
the
a big
newest one's in
deal.
New
It
York.
was like
This
a new
one's-
setting.
It's back to I want to call it like is it Woodsboro?
Oh,
Where
so
they're
it's
from?
like that.
Like the
Okay,
original
okay.
town. Like they're back in the original town and like it's actually really funny to watch it now because like since Scream came out, I was big into Riverdale and Jughead's dad was Billy Loomis in the original Scream, and like when you see it now, you're like, oh shit, that is Jughead's dad. So it's really funny.
Yeah, I'm sure you're absolutely not the only person to think that.
Yeah, a lot of people watch Riverdale. Get over it. All right, and then other than that, we watched Evil Dead Rise, which is again another one of these movies that is like a sequel, but a continuation of the remake of a franchise from the '80s kind of movie. It was all right. I mean, hey, these are all quote unquote horror movies. I wasn't scared. These weren't scary movies.
Yeah, I wish we were doing titles. It'd just be like, Chap Daddy, I wasn't scared. That's the title.
That's it. But yeah, it's another one of those movies. They find like the Book of the Dead and like, oh, don't read it because it's gonna.
Honestly, yeah, don't read it.
Yeah, of course.
This is like Beetlejuice all over again. Don't read the fucking book.
It's also got like, okay, big spoilers for Evil Dead Rise if anyone's gonna listen to it, but it's ridiculous. This kid finds this book. There's an earthquake in whatever city. It uncovers this little tomb thing under their parking garage in their apartment building. Guy goes in, he finds this book and a bunch of records, and he starts listening to the records. And on the record is a doctor going, "This book is made of human skin, and the ink is of blood." It's like, put the book away.
There's a doctor saying that?
Yeah, some researcher. It's an old vinyl. It's an old record, and he's listening to it.
I'm fucking dead at this. Does he announce that he's a doctor?
Yeah, he's like, this is Dr. So-and-so,
Okay,
and these are the
okay.
recordings of my findings on this book or whatever. Or no, he's not a doctor. He's like part of the church or some shit. You know, what are those things?
Sure.
But, okay, anyways.
You're
you
leaving
call
me-
a book
you're leaving me with
made
more
of human
questions.
skin and the ink is blood. Put the book back and
Yeah,
don't play the next record.
I'm probably not going to do that.
Like, what are these kids doing? Okay, so yeah, did that one.
Also, hang on, question.
Go ahead.
It's written with blood?
Yeah, the book was written with blood.
How big is the book?
It's like a classic journal size, you know?
Okay, so like, I mean, now I'm thinking, how many pages do you think you can write in a day with blood, right? Because I'm assuming it's one person's blood, and that person's doing it. Like,
okay,
at some
so
point,
this
they're getting woozy.
This is The Simpsons. This is Bob,
Sideshow Bob. Yeah, he writes the
writes
letters in
Bart's
blood.
letter.
Snake is like, use a pen, Bob.
Yeah, exactly. But I gotta imagine this is also the Book of the Dead, so it's like, I'm sure it's not just one guy's blood. I'm sure this person was evil and wrote his book with many people's blood.
That just doesn't seem safe.
Well, because there's lots of different demons come out of the book, so
This is
okay. Very unsafe. Don't go into hidden tombs.
Yeah.
Moral of the story.
Just
Especially
don't
if they're
read.
in San Francisco or wherever the fuck they were where this earthquake happened. Like, why is that there?
Listeners, stop reading.
Yeah.
That's
And then the last thing I've been watching this week is I finished the first season of that anime I told you about called My Hero Academia.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of fun. Great show. I want you to ask me more about it, but I know you're not interested, so we'll just move on.
I can't get past the title.
Well, it's a
Is
fucking
Academia
anime.
his hero?
No, it's My Hero Academia, which is like
Colon?
no, there's no colons.
So,
it's a weird title, but the kids just go into hero school.
comma?
That's really what it is. None.
So the
It's
school
an
is
anime,
called,
dude.
the school is called Academia.
It's called Hero something or other. Hero Academia.
The school is called Hero.
Yeah.
That's a pretty cool name for a school.
Yeah. So it's a sick show. You should watch it. You like Vox Machina, so check it out.
It took me a while to get past that title. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, right? You're like, what does that mean? Legends
big
of
title
Vox
guy.
Machina? It doesn't mean anything.
I don't know what to tell you.
And then I was also like, I got a little inspired when I was listening to making some clips for the Million Ways to Die pod and started playing Red Dead Redemption 2 again, which has been a great time.
Are
Really
you
great game.
counting all the horse bike racks as you pass them?
I do,
now?
yeah. I'm like, oh, there's a hitching post. There's a hitching post.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, oh, sorry. There's a horse bike rack. There's a horse bike rack. Yeah, so that's me for the week.
Is it hitchin post or hitch and post?
Hitching.
Hitching.
But it probably is hitching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Just clarification. If we ever do transcripts, so just so the people know.
Yeah, I will. If you're listening, get that right. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're diving into Ace Ventura.
Jim Carrey is Ace Ventura, Pet Detective. He's the best there is.
Excuse me, gentlemen. Pet detective.
Actually, he's the only one there is.
You really love animals, don't you?
If it gets cold enough.
Now, the mascot of the Miami Dolphins has been kidnapped,
Oh, righty then.
and he's on the case of a lifetime.
Listen, Pet Dick, how would you like me to make your life a living hell?
Well, I'm not really ready for a relationship, Lois.
There's no place he won't go.
Captain's log, stardate 23.9.
Ace, get out of the tank.
I just can't do it, Captain. I don't have the power.
Nothing he won't do.
All right, so yeah, we're jumping into Ace Ventura. Rip, why don't you tell me a little bit about your like introduction to Jim Carrey, like how you remember this movie, that sort of thing.
I don't know why I wasn't expecting this question. It's very on
It's
brand
almost
for
like
you.
we don't do a podcast about movies.
Jeez, you really put me on the spot here. I have to say this is probably the first Jim Carrey movie I've seen.
Yeah.
I mean, we would have been young as fuck, right? I want to say I have a very like blurry memory of being like a child and being at Disneyland. And I want to say like, again, because this was like the 90s.
Disneyland, eh? Must be nice.
Yeah. I want to say like, again, because it was the 90s, they had like these, I don't know how to describe this. It was like a very popular thing where you could just take your pictures with like backdrops.
Okay, yeah, I remember those, yeah.
And there was like a log and then a cutout of Jim Carrey sitting on it as Ace Ventura.
Okay.
And I want to say this, maybe this was the second one.
I'm starting to think this is Nature Calls.
Must have been Nature Calls, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, there's a picture of Little Rip and he's sitting on the log.
Little Rip.
And I'm like where the monkey should be sitting. And,
Right.
And Jim Carrey's like,
Oh, like the movie cover where he's
yeah,
picking,
exactly.
he's picking
got
the
his
bugs out of
hands
the hair.
like in
yeah.
my hair.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder
That's
if I
great.
can track down that picture.
That's a really good. That's a great picture.
Yeah.
Film picture.
so
But,
that's my introduction to Jim
That's
Carrey.
the second movie, but that I'm like in a similar boat. I can't remember if it was Ace Ventura: Pet Detective that I saw first, or if it was Liar Liar, or if it was The Mask.
Yeah.
Like Jim Carrey had all these great movies come out in the '90s, and they became very synonymous with my childhood. Like just, I remember constantly watching The Mask for some reason. Just it was always on TV. Stanley Ipkiss, that guy. We're gonna have to do that movie on the pod one day.
Smokey.
All right, so this movie is released in 1994. Its director is Tom Shadyac. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And he's also known for doing The Nutty Professor, Liar Liar, Bruce and Evan Almighty.
Oh.
So he's done a couple movies we've all seen.
It's a decent run.
Yeah. The writers on this are Tom Shadyac, Jack Bernstein, and Jim Carrey. And the cast, of course, is Jim Carrey, Courtney Cox, Sean Young plays Lieutenant Einhorn, Troy Evans is Pedactor, and Dan Marino is Dan Marino in this movie. Okay. What do you think of the premise of a pet detective, first of all?
This is so 90s. It's so fucking 90s, right? Like, sure.
It's so good. I love the idea that we'll get to it in a bit, that this guy, like, there's a person in this movie who just says, one time I used a pet detective, and it's like, as they're saying it as if this is like a common thing. Like, as a pet detective is a known thing in Miami. They're around.
Like, I have so many questions, but it's just best to just like shut off that part of your brain and watch the movie, right? Because I mean, I have, I think, like 2 pages of notes. I could have fucking 27 pages of notes because it's just
dude, there's a lot going on in this movie.
Where do we start?
So this is Jim Carrey. So it's like the world's being introduced to this wacky and zany, over the top style of comedy, and I don't know, only one other guy maybe is doing it, and Mike Myers at the same time. Like,
true.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to think of other people who are doing similar stuff, but like, it's new and it's crazy, and I kind of like it because it's like, yeah, fuck it. This is a ridiculous premise. Let's just go with it, and it's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big physical like comedy guy, right? I mean, I guess at the time, Michael Richards playing Kramer, similar, vibes, like where it's just your body, the way it just contorts, it's just funny, right?
Yeah, it just, there's lots of close-ups on Jim Carrey's face while he's like doing screams and yells, and like he's doing all sorts of different facial expressions. And I think that's why this sort of movie, like, it works when you're a kid, because I don't know, as an 8-year-old, Jim Carrey's probably the funniest thing you've ever seen. He's ridiculous. He's over the top. You never know what he's going to do next, kind of thing. He's got a lot of that Michael Keaton energy as the Beetlejuice.
So that's like kind of my first qualm with this movie is, again, like as kids, we watched this and like we thought it was so funny. And to me, it's just like, why is there all of these like weird not offside, but I mean, it's like a blowjob like 10 minutes into the movie, and I'm thinking
there's
like,
a lot of sexual humor in it.
It just totally escaped me. I had no recollection of this at all, and I guess because a kid, I'm just enjoying like watching Jim Carrey fucking prance around screen, right?
Exactly. Like,
it doesn't seem like it was necessary to me, but I guess I don't know, maybe how they kind of put like sexual innuendos in like Pixar movies for the parents.
That's what I mean. That's what I was gonna say. Like, this movie, I think this movie comes out and it's rated PG. I think if it comes out today, it's not. It's probably rated like, I don't know, 18 or something like that. But yeah, it's like there's a lot of that stuff in there for the parents. Like, that's the you want parents to bring their kids to the movie, so you get more popcorn and all that bullshit, right?
You speaking on behalf of big movies here?
Yeah,
like, that's
big movie.
That's
Take
the
them
grand,
down. Yeah.
That's the grand scheme.
Alrighty, let's jump into the rundown of the movie. So Ace Ventura is hired basically to find the mascot of the Miami Dolphins, which is a bottlenose dolphin named Snowflake. In the process, he unravels this sort of dastardly revenge plot by the shamed former kicker, Ray Finkel. That's the general synopsis of the movie. Let's go from the top with the rundown. So, setting the stage, we're introduced to Ace in the very first opening moments of this movie as he's posing as a delivery guy, because he's on case right now. And he's walking down the street and he's got this fragile package and he's shaking it all to shit. It's clearly broken. And he comes to the door of this guy who, I don't know, is he harboring his ex's dog? Like he stole this
I
dog?
guess that's the vibe, yeah, that I got.
Right. So Ace has been hired to steal back this dog, and he's just like impersonating an FBI agent, or sorry, not an FBI agent, a UPS agent on his way there. Anything in these first scenes like setting something up for you?
I got a really good kick out of this whole, like, I guess it's almost like a cold open, right? Where,
yeah,
it's like your introduction. The whole package gag of him just like hawking it down the hallway and everything.
It.
My partner and I, we were walking back from dinner the other night, and we see this guy get out of his car. It's an Uber delivery driver from McDonald's, and we watched him hawk that McDonald's bag, like, I kid you not, 7 fucking feet in the air before it landed on the porch, and he just dipped. And I couldn't help but think of that, and it's just like, wow, like 30 years later, nothing has changed. Nobody is any different when it comes to these kind of things.
No.
Like,
I love there's a really great moment where Ace he has the package and he gets on the elevator of the apartment building and he like holds it so the door just keeps closing on it. I love that for some reason. It's a really great one. And then he does the line drive down the hallway where he just kicks it. It's really funny because I find myself laughing. I'm like, this is hilarious, but if I was anyone else, if I was getting this package, I'd be fucking livid.
Did the fake out with the dog catch you?
No, I have a lot to say about the fake out with the dog. I have a question. How did you get that dog there? The door opens inwards.
Yeah.
So there's no possibility that he could have put that fake stuffed dog there.
That's so funny. I love that you're fucking Chap Daddy detective on the case. Door detective.
I also love that like there's something really great about the dog. Like once so Ace basically delivers the package and in the process, while the guy's signing the paperwork, he smuggles a dog out. He's like, "Oh, don't worry, we'll mail you the rest of the paperwork,"
Yeah.
which is also really funny.
The guy's just like, oh yeah, that makes sense. That's how mail works in the 90s.
Yeah. So then Ace makes off with the dog, and he leaves behind a decoy dog. And on the decoy dog, there's like something pinned to its collar, and it literally just says, "You've been had" by Ace Ventura.
This got me. I love a good, like, "You've been had." It's so old timey. I love it.
Right?
Like, is it even legal to say without twirling your mustache?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Ace is on the way back to his car, and ooh. And then obviously,
been
so this
had.
guy fucking comes out of nowhere and beats the shit out of his car with a baseball bat, and we get all sorts of antics from Jim Carrey here. He's barking at the guy. He's acting like a dog, and he's trying to get his car going. Really great stuff. For me, I think this is like just a 10 out of 10 character introduction.
Yeah.
This is like the tone of the movie laid bare in 40 seconds.
You're stealing my line. I say this every episode. I'm like, if you don't like this 30 seconds in, you're not going to like the movie.
Yeah. Well, hey, another really great example of this. Mixed in with these opening sequences, we sort of start to get our first glimpses of like what's going to be the overall problem of the movie, and we see hints of the dolphin heist. You see some nefarious hands and people in masks stealing a dolphin. I had to ask myself, is this like top 5 aquatic mammal heists? We got Free Willy as another entry.
Free Willy's a good heist. Good aquatic mammal heist. Yeah. Somebody at home's like, it's a fish, idiot.
It's a mammal, as Ace later proves. Unless that was all bullshit.
Yeah. He just went off script with that.
And then we're finding out more about Ace's life as this sort of opening sequence goes on. You get to his apartment, and another thing I want to call it, I just love his landlord for some reason. he comes up out of nowhere, and he's just like, "Ventura," like the way he says it, and Ace replies, "Yes, Satan." Like, it's all really good stuff. And then I don't know if you caught this, the way the guy just hacks up on him, just coughs really disgustingly, just right in his face.
Yeah. Everything's like very over the top.
Yeah, it's all up there. And then this is where we get the reveal that Ace is such an animal lover that he lives with hundreds, if not thousands, of zoo animals in his fucking apartment.
Yeah, this is your trailer shot for sure, right? Like, This is where like Ace Ventura coming to a theater near you, and then it's like him with like the
Come to me, my animal friends.
He's got like a penguin in there or some shit. Yeah.
And we also get the very first mention of the famous loser in this segment as well, which I'm a really big fan of. Anything else in these first opening minutes that stood out to you?
No, like you said, I mean, it really sets the tone for the movie, right? And I agree. Like, you know what the sense of humor is going to be throughout the movie right away, just based on him. He doesn't have to say anything, right? Like, just the way he moves, and you're like, this is going to be pretty fucking zany.
Just his entire getup too, like that hair, like everything about him is just hilarious.
It's crazy. And I mean, we're going to get there in a second, but because you brought up the hair, the outfit, everything about him just screams like I don't care how good of a quote unquote pet detective you are. If you're dressed like that, I'm probably like, get the fuck out of my office. Like, he walks into to see Courtney Cox, right?
Yeah,
and it's like, sorry, you're telling me that she takes him seriously for even like 5 seconds?
Well, this is what I'm talking about with earlier with the secretary who's just like, you know what? We tried a pet detective one time, and he was really great. It's like, who is this guy?
It's crazy.
So yeah, you already mentioned about after these opening moments, we kind of get into the setting the stage of the problems. And we have Melissa, who's played by Courtney Cox, is the Miami Dolphins publicist, and Roger Predactor, who I forget what he is, maybe an offensive coordinator. Who knows? I'm not really sure what he's playing in this movie. But they're talking about how Snowflake has been kidnapped, and Snowflake is the team's good luck charm and is supposed to kick a field goal during the halftime show. So they really need to get Snowflake back. That's when the team brings in Ace, and Ace shows up and sort of starts his investigation. There's a couple parts here that I really love. We get the iconic parking lot scene where he's driving in really fast, and he drifts into the spot, and he goes, like a glove. Very quotable movie, because these are just things that people are still saying today. Like,
right. The score for him coming in the car too is so good.
All of the music in this movie is really good. That classic, it's sort of like 70s Miami Vice style, like lots of, like, I don't know. I have no idea how to describe music. But yeah, you get all that stuff. And then he's talking with Courtney Cox, and he's eating the sunflower seeds, and he's putting all the shells on the desk, and she asks him if he'd like an ashtray. And he says, no, smoking's a disgusting habit.
Yeah, right. Like, this is what I mean. Like, there's no way. Like, to me, that is the part that you have to suspend disbelief the most, is that she would ever hire this guy. Like,
Right.
you're so high up in the food chain of this like professional sports team, and you're gonna entertain the idea of this fucking guy. It's like,
Pet detective.
like your job is riding on him finding this fucking dolphin, and you're like, yeah, this is the guy I want for sure.
Well, so I don't know if her job's riding on it because the cops have been called. They've done their thing. So we later find that out. And I think I just want to push back on your like, who would ever hire this guy? Ace is good at his fucking job, and he shows it in the next couple scenes.
I know, but she doesn't know that yet.
Well, I think she knows it in the next 5 minutes. But this is another one of my favorite parts because Ace really goes to work and he starts investigating, and he goes to the dolphin tank. And there's like a couple of classic lines here. There's one, he's getting in the tank and he says, if I'm not back in 5 minutes, just wait longer, which is one of my favorites. And then as he's sort of investigating this empty tank, he's doing Captain Kirk impression the entire time, which is all really great physical comedy. He's talking into his sunglasses. He's got the little beeper noise going, the communicator noise going, and it's all awesome. And then he has to get out of the tank because the reporters are coming. Oh my God, we have to hide it. And that's when he looks in the filtration system and finds a little gemstone.
Yes.
He finds a lead.
Yeah, he finds a lead. Which
the cops fucking overlooked, clearly, if they were already there.
I mean, what do you want me to say?
Yeah, true. So this leads Ace to head to the police station to check on his source E to get some more information. Again, another series of just like really great segments come up here. We get, number one, Ace runs into... I don't know, his like arch nemesis cop, Aguado, which I want to talk about that name for a second. Aguado. Like it kind of sounds like iguana to me.
It does.
And I wonder if that's like on purpose because of the movie.
I still feel like it's quite fitting.
Yeah. I mean, it fits this guy perfectly. And this guy sort of, he steps on a roach and has some comments for Ace. And then Ace takes him down like really quickly and it shows that he's got moves and he's got skill.
This is really funny. So I watched this movie like a week ago. And I did not take very detailed notes. I just kind of wrote down like funny observations. So I don't have the whole sequence that you just described. So hearing you say it, it's refreshing the imagery in my mind.
Yeah.
But as I look at my notes, all I see is Pork and his wife.
Yeah, he said something about the bug having a tiny dick and made Aguado jealous.
How good is like porking?
Porking.
Like people used to actually fucking say that.
Hilarious
That's
stuff.
so good.
And then right after this, we get Ace talking to E through his ass, which I think for me is still really funny. Like I died at this as a kid. I remember going around my house doing this to my parents, like talking with my ass, being like, "Do you have a breath mint?" Like doing all of that stuff. It's just so good.
I'm not gonna lie, like 10 seconds in, I was like, this is so stupid. And then he just kept doing it, and I'm like, okay, I'm back in.
Because the part that really gets me is when he says he's gonna put him away, and like he's still asking E all these questions, and E's like not cooperating. So then he starts to sort of like his ass is trying to talk through the chair, and he's got to hold it down on the chair, and it's like all muffled and stuff. It's really,
And again,
really
I say it like every episode too, but imagine like reading the script for this, and it's like Jim Carrey bends over, pulls apart his ass cheeks, and talks through his butthole. And says, afraid I'll make a stink.
I'm sure that's not how it was written on the page. Like,
I bet you it was. Or even better if it's like, as Jim Carrey wrote it, and he's like, I'll bend over and spread my ass
Yeah,
cheeks.
it's all in first person.
Yeah.
The entire script. As Ace is doing all these antics, that's when Lieutenant Einhorn comes down to tell him to get off the case, and that they're all over it kind of thing. And after this, Ace starts his investigation sort of like in earnest, really. And he goes to meet one of his buddies at the back room of a Cannibal Corpse concert.
I have so many questions about this.
Let's talk about it. What do you got?
Like, this guy's office is in what, like an underground punk rock, like
I
dive
love it.
bar.
And it looks like it looks sort of like a submarine battle station a little bit.
It doesn't make any sense, but it's so wonderful and just fits together so perfectly that you're like, yeah, I mean, it doesn't make any sense, but like maybe it does make sense because it doesn't.
Yeah, this whole sequence is great. There's a lot of, you get a lot of visual gags in this one where when he first enters the concert, everyone's headbanging to this metal music, and he goes and asks the guy, he's like, "Hey, is Rake here?"
Yeah.
And the guy's just headbanging. So
Right.
he's like, "Okay, thanks." Like that sort of stuff feels like made up on the spot. It feels very just like in the moment, right? And then we get he has to say the password at the door about the New England clam chowder.
Yeah.
Now is that the red or the white?
Again, like it's just sure. Like it doesn't make any fucking sense, but
it's great.
It doesn't
helps
matter.
build up this world that Ace has this underground connection.
I will say
of
too,
hackers.
I love the idea that like this guy looks exactly like what you would imagine he would look like. And that archetype hasn't changed like 30 years later.
Well, you're talking about the hacker guy?
Yeah, like the guy behind the door, like he looks the exact
kind of
same.
like a stoner,
in
long hair.
Every single movie since, when did this come out? 1994? That guy always looks the same.
It's the same. I'm pretty sure it's the same
guy.
dude. It's the same dude
It's the
in
same
every
guy.
single movie that has a hacker. So Ace is here to get his buddy to hack into some systems to find out who in the area is buying large quantities of aquatic animal care supplies. And that leads them to their first like real lead. And it's, I guess, the part owner of the Dolphins it's supposed to be or some shit, or some guy who donates it. His name's Mr. Camp. He's a billionaire, basically.
And I mean, it's clearly a well-known fact that he has a desire for exotic rare animals, and like that didn't raise any flags with anybody at all.
No one,
They
on,
were like,
no one on the Dolphin staff was like, maybe it's that billionaire that we...
who could afford the like tools and manpower to like steal this exotic dolphin?
Again, another question I'm asking for the cops. Have they not thought of this?
Right.
Like, why is Ace so good at this? So Ace convinces Melissa, the publicist, to take him to this guy's dinner party so he can snoop around the place and find out if Snowflake is on the premises. And I think we get like a really great sequence here that sort of like, as a kid, it 100% went over my head. But he basically tells the billionaire, he's like, yeah, I went to law school and I could probably open up a really lucrative practice alone on like suing people who have parties like this for food poisoning. I just love that. Like, he just threatens this guy with that sort of legal action because he's playing a lawyer at this point.
Just the idea of him being a lawyer. Imagine you're getting sued by this guy and you're like sitting at court and this fucking guy walks down the aisle of the courtroom.
That Ace Ventura strut,
With
that fucking hair.
The fucking strut and the hair. And you know he's not wearing a suit. He's still
Oh
wearing
yeah,
a
he's wearing his
Hawaiian
Hawaiian
shirt, right?
shirts, 100%, 100%. I love it that Melissa also calls him Tom Ace in this, like
Yeah.
most ridiculous like fake name ever. This leads to one of my a lot of these segments are one of my favorites because they're so good. But Ace basically fakes having food poisoning, goes to the washroom as an excuse to sort of look around the premises and all that stuff. And this whole sequence where he gets into the washroom, locks the door, and he's running the tap so no one can hear what he's doing in there, and he climbs out the window and he's acting like he's in Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
He's doing so many different things here. He's sneaking around. He's acting like he's climbing on a high wall. He jumps over the railing to shimmy along the ledge that he does not need to jump over. He fakes the slip, the fall, all that stuff. And I gotta imagine, like, he nailed this in one take, right? Like, they didn't plan. He was just gonna walk over to the door originally,
sure.
and he's like, no, I'm gonna do it like this.
Oh, 100%.
So good. That's when Ace opens the door to a very large fish tank, and he thinks it's Snowflake. Do you like this part? Do you like where this goes? Do you like this segment?
I mean, honestly, at this point, I'm so confused.
About what?
About everything.
Oh,
Like,
come
the
on,
whole-
man. There's nothing to
the
be
plan
confused
is-
about.
The plan is like so elaborate, but also I'm just like, where are we going here? I mean, the room doesn't look anything like what I would expect it to, right? It's like, I don't know.
It's clearly some back warehouse lot
yeah,
of the
right.
studio, but like that's what you do, right?
No, 100%. Like I'm into it. I'm just, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what to expect, but I'm just here for Jim Carrey. You know, I'm here for Jim Carrey. being
he's
Jim
about to
Carrey.
find Snowflake. No, wrong. He finds a great white shark and gets mauled by it.
Yeah, like again, like sure. This is what I mean. Part of it feels like a kid's movie to me, where it's like things are just being placed, like scenarios are being made up for Jim Carrey to just like act like a buffoon.
It's interesting you say like because this movie wasn't actually written with Jim Carrey in mind. Like he got cast for it
That's
later, and
absolutely insane to
they
me.
did rewrites to make it more like Jim Carrey. I forget. I think there's some version of it where Jim like Ace Ventura like basically takes a couple guys' heads off. Like it's really dark. Like he shoots people in the head, like stuff like that. And
That's
then they toned it
wild.
back and made it more wacky and zany when Jim Carrey came on board to like. I think he had a persona on the In Living Color show that he was on
Okay.
that they sort of wove into this. I forget what character it was that he had on that show, but basically the DNA of that character became the blueprint for Ace Ventura.
Oh wow.
And that's how all that sort of stuff happened.
I mean, that makes a lot more sense because again, I'm thinking like this has to be for kids the way I don't know what, like again, because we were kids in the 90s, like I don't know
I seem to remember my dad dying of laughter any time we watched this movie, and he probably still does. He's a simple man. But yeah, so after,
but yeah, no, you're
so back to the great white shark.
Yes, him getting tossed around by the shark is funny. Like
we get a couple of funny little visual gags from this one too, where Jim Carrey's being thrashed around by the shark, and they cut back to the dinner party, and the line for the washroom's just growing ever longer. I love one of those. And then a really great line for me when Jim Carrey finally comes out of the washroom, his pants are torn to shit. He's all covered in water, and he like slaps water out of his front pocket, and he just goes, "Do not go in there."
Yeah, of course, right.
And then later on, he's like ushering him into the car, and he's like, "Yes, we'll get the plumbing checked right away." It's like, what kind of fucking plumbing does?
Well, I mean, he has to say that just to cover his ass. He doesn't want to get sued, right?
True, by his lucrative food poisoning practice. All this that happens, so for Ace to find yet another lead, that comes in the form of the 1984 AFC Championship ring that Mr. Camp has on his hand. And Ace recognizes that it has the same stones as the one Ace found in the filter.
So I will say, this is where I started to buy into the movie. I was like, oh shit, like this is a pretty good paper trail that they're making for him. I was fully in. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't realize that there was actual like substance to it, right?
Yeah, I mean, this movie moves quick too. It's only an hour 25 or something like that. Like, so it covers a lot of ground in a really fast way and a really fun way for me. Because this sequence moves right into the hunt for the championship rings, which is like a sort of montage segment where Ace is basically, he's got a yearbook for the Miami Dolphins, and he's tracking down former players one by one to see which one has the ring with the missing stone. And we get so many gags here. He's hiding out in a mailbox as some guy's like putting his mail in. He grabs his hand and holds him there.
That's a good one.
He's arm wrestling another guy. He ends up taking a punch from a dude in the head and like counting the imprints on his forehead. That he's trying to race one of the former players to catch him, but eventually he just like jumps him with chloroform.
Yeah, I had that written down too. But the whole chloroform thing, I feel like that was like a really popular gag.
Yeah.
But no, this is all good. And again, like I kind of wish that it followed this instead of like kind of shifting tone to what's his name, Finkle?
Yeah, all the Finkel stuff.
Yeah, because then it kind of got like a little. It kind of lost my interest there, but. Again, like up until that point, like I was having a lot of fun. I thought, the substance was good, right? Like it made sense. It wasn't very Scooby-Doo-ish. It was like, oh, I can like follow along, and maybe I can also find out like who took Snowflake, you know?
Yeah. I think the movie does do though, like it does do a good job of like leading you back to those breadcrumbs later, because this is where the case sort of takes a turn. We get Roger Predactor apparently throws himself off a balcony committing suicide. Ace and Melissa go to the scene. Like we have another one of those showdowns between Ace and the cops, and really Ace is again showing them up. He does the sliding door. Like he couldn't possibly have been thrown off the balcony because of this.
This is really good. Yeah,
I love it. He's just screaming and like opening and closing the door, and showing that no sound gets through.
Again, it's just more like assurance to the audience that like, oh no, like he's a good detective. Like this is. Yeah. It's a fun, evident way of showing it.
We also get another line that I feel like I say this every once in a while. The whole I have exorcised the demons is like Southern father fucking line. I find it really funny. And after the sequence, so this is where we get to sort of like I said earlier, the breadcrumbs that Ace has been following. He's back with Melissa, and he spots another team photo, but this time it has a different person in it than the one he was working from originally, who happens to be Ray Finkle. And Ray Finkle is the sort of, I guess, disgraced kicker that missed the field goal to win the Super Bowl. And like, I think it was like 8 years prior, something like that. I don't know. I wasn't really looking into the timelines, but yeah, this is kind of where the movie takes a dark turn and starts to get a little like, I don't know, weird and like fantastical for some odd reason.
Yeah. I mean, this, like I said, this is the part where I kind of like, I don't want to say checked out, because like I was still having fun, like just watching Jim Carrey like be Jim Carrey, right?
Yeah.
But as far as like the story goes and the plot, I was kind of like I was a little disappointed. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, the whole Ace goes to visit the Finkle family, and like his life is rough for them. Like their fans have defaced their house, and their son was in a mental institution, and just like all this bad shit happened to them after Ray missed the kick. And there is one funny part that happens here when Ace knocks on the door and he's greeted by a shotgun. He goes, "Hi, I'm looking for Ray Finkel and a clean pair of shorts." It's like another iconic line. But this is all where Ace starts to piece together that, no, this isn't like about Snowflake. This is a revenge plot against Dan Marino.
Yeah.
Because you see Ray Finkel's childhood bedroom and it literally just looks like a promise to kill Dan Marino.
Right. And this is where I got so confused. Like, what was the whole, they did like a little switcheroo, right? With the Dolphin and Dan Marino. And I'm like, this.
I wrote this down like in the first couple of minutes. Like the whole plot came back to me. I'm like, why steal the fucking Dolphin in the first place? Just steal Dan Marino.
Exactly what I have. Like, there's a part where they do kidnap Dan Marino. And I'm like, the movie could have just started right here.
Exactly. But then you don't get Ace Ventura.
No, for sure. I guess there's no pet detective involved. They just take Dan Marino, right?
Yeah. Well, I actually really like this scene too because like Ace warns Melissa and he's trying to find where Dan Marino is, and she tells him he's on a commercial shoot. And two guys who are supposed to be playing other football players and tackling Dan Marino for this ad tackle him, but they don't stop. They just pick him up and run away.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's a really well executed.
I was gonna say honestly,
really well
like,
executed.
I could see that working.
Yeah.
Right. I do want to just like pause, and I want to talk about Finkel here.
Okay.
I kind of feel bad for the guy.
Oh yeah.
Like, this still happens today, right? If somebody
100%.
misses like a shootout goal or something like in hockey, like people like jump on that Instagram and they just bully the shit out of that person.
100%. And sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, if you do that, like, you're a loser.
No, I totally agree, and that's what I said. It's like terrible things have happened to his family. Like their whole home is like boarded up and graffitied and like just very bad shit.
Like, separate the person from the fucking sport.
Yeah, exactly. And this like all kind of comes back to a head when Ace goes undercover at the institution where Finkel was committed.
Yeah.
Him and Melissa basically go, and Ace wants to infiltrate to find some more, I guess, clues from Finkel's past that might reveal where he is and where he's keeping Dan. And this is when Ace is sort of playing out this fantasy where he's in this never-ending football game to fool the doctors. And the doctors even go like, we've experienced this before. It's actually like a really big deal, like with mental health and athletes in such a high pressure situation, which to me, like, that's like feels like a very like forward thought for a doctor in the 90s in a 90s movie.
It's ahead
to be
of its
saying.
time for sure. Like, sports
like,
psychology is like such a thing now.
Yeah, I'm like that's that line right there is really ahead of its time, and I don't think they knew how like on the nose that was, because it is really, really true. So basically, I don't know if you want to talk about any of the stuff that happens while we're here, because we got a couple of I don't know how I feel about them. Like, how do you feel about all this stuff?
I mean, it's like it's like appropriate for the time, right? Now I'm kind of like, again, like it's dated. I get it. Like, I'm not gonna shit on it for being a product of its time, because it could always be so much worse. Not that that's an excuse, but it is like an iconic scene. Him in the tutu, right?
The tutu, and he's living out this fantasy football game that never ends. And there is one, like, I find it's some really good physical comedy happening when he does the play, and then he does everything in super slow-mo, and then he rewinds it. I'm like, that stuff's sort of brilliant, like the way he's doing it and the way he's like fully committed to doing this rewind bit, like,
right, like
separating that stuff from some of the other things that are happening in the sequence is, you know,
again, like it's great physical comedy. Like, he's crushing it. Like, that's Jim Carrey's thing, right? Like, I'm gonna, do all of these different kind of bits while also like throwing my body in all these weird positions. It's funny, it's hilarious, and I'm pretty sure like that like shot of him in the tutu was like my MSN picture at one point. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure every kid who grew up in the 90s had that, like, whether it was a poster or something similar to that,
when
right?
He's using the bushes as the line of scrimmage, and, and he hops over them. Like, it's good stuff. It's but all this to say, it leads Ace to finding some more clues about Finkel. He sneaks into the storage room and finds like a newspaper clipping in a box, and it has this article about a hiker named Lois Einhorn who went missing and died. Yeah. So he's like, oh my God, what's the connection between Finkel and Einhorn, right? I
felt very Scooby-Doo'd here. I'm not going to lie.
Like, oh, it was the groundskeeper.
Yeah, like, oh, it was the hiker the whole time? Yeah. Like, fuck off, get out of here.
Oh, come on. They got to wrap it up, right? So
funny gag, though. Him in the box is hilarious.
Yeah, there's people are about to come into the storage room, and Ace tries to hide in the box. Really great visual gag. It's the way it just splays open as he stretches out of it. It just pops apart.
He kept pulling me back in. I was like, there's no way he's going to get in that box. And then eventually it's like, oh shit, like he's kind of getting in the box. And then the box just falls open.
So now we move into Ace kind of cracking the case. He's at home mulling over this new info, trying to figure out the connection between Einhorn and Finkel. And he cracks it when one of his dogs lays down over top of the team photo, and like the hair sort of lies over the picture of Finkel, and it makes it look like he's wearing a wig. And Ace puts it together that Finkel is Einhorn, which leads us into our big finish. Ace follows Einhorn to like these weird docks.
The docks?
But like also warehouses at the same time. I have no idea. This is like really funny abandoned, where you'd have taken your kidnapped quarterback and
I just gotta say,
mascot
like,
Snowflake.
if you ever have an opportunity to go to the docks, like, don't go. Like,
Don't go to
so
the
many
docks.
nefarious things happen by docks. Like, people are getting dumped in the water. Like, people are kidnapping quarterbacks and hiding them out there.
Yeah.
There's like incoming drug shipments, right? There's always like
You're going to get caught up in a whole lot of bad if you go to the docks.
100%. There's always a gang of like fishermen like unloading and loading boxes onto a boat. Like, just, it's not for me.
And if you go to like more so like marina style docks where there's lots of yachts, you have to deal with like rich jerks who are like talking with their boats and shit.
Yeah, but I don't know. When you say docks, I'm not thinking of that. Like, there's docks and then there's like docks.
There's docks. Yeah. Alrighty. So yeah, Ace follows Einhorn to the docks, where they're keeping Dan
Good
and
line read.
where they're keeping Dan and Snowflake. There's a bit in this sequence that I will never forget, and I fucking love it because it's so stupid and dumb. Ace gets into a dinghy, and you remember those portable fans?
Yeah.
Yeah, he pulls one of those portable fans that we all used to have.
Yeah.
And we blow it around your neck. He pulls it out and he puts it in the water
It's a
to,
really good
to
bit.
move the dinghy 4 inches so
It's
he
a
can
really
climb
good
the ladder. It's like so good. I've never forgot it. If I'm ever talking about Ace Ventura, I always bring it up. It's so funny. Now Ace sort of takes out the thugs. He swings a giant ass anchor at their heads. And then there's another really funny moment where he rappels down to Dan and he goes, heads up. Just like slides down beside him. And now he's saving Dan Marino, and he fights Einhorn. The cops swarm. Melissa shows up and she's holding E hostage so the cops don't kill Ace. And that's when Ace sort of lays out this whole case and exposes that Einhorn basically had this devious revenge plot against Dan and the Miami Dolphins organization. But they go about it in a really weird, like degrading way that it's not appropriate, I think.
Are we talking about the tucked in dick?
Just the whole sequence of just like everything that's
horrible.
happening here. It's all awful.
It's
Like,
all so bad. It's all
it's
so
all
bad.
terrible. So that all happens. None of it's in good taste. It's bad. And Ace ends up bringing Dan back to the Super Bowl for the second half of the game.
I need to know the story behind getting Dan Marino involved in this. Because he sticks out like a sore thumb. Like,
it's so weird.
just make it about the fucking dolphin.
I find it's so funny because I had so many questions. Like once Dan Marino's involved, it's like, wait, was Ray Finkel an actual kicker? Like I had to go look at like how are they putting this story together? And
I have no idea. This, like, everything about the story in this movie is just so fucking weird.
yeah, it's ridiculous. So the movie does end on another really funny moment where Ace is back at the stadium. He's being celebrated, but he spots the what would you call it from the beginning? Like almost like not a MacGuffin, but like it's a weird plot point from the beginning about the $25,000 reward for a rare.
This is a funny bit.
A rare parrot or something like that.
It's a white pigeon, isn't it?
Yeah, like a rare albino pigeon.
Yeah.
And so this pigeon lands on top of the Gatorade drink station for the team, and Ace is sneaking up on it. And the other team's mascot comes over and like knocks it off to get some water. And Ace is just like, you cost me 20 grand, buddy. And he proceeds to beat the shit out of him.
Again, like I feel like beating up mascots was like a really popular gag back then.
Dude, it still works.
It does still
Whenever
work.
I see anything about mascots, I was watching a video the other day. I think I might have sent it to you guys, where it was mascots playing football against like 8 to 10-year-olds. And they were just truck sticking these kids.
Yeah, I love it.
Like anything to do with mascots.
Mascots are a good time. Like
I'm all
fucking
about.
Gritty, we love Gritty
Oh,
here.
Gritty's great. Gritty's a fan of the pod. But that's the movie. That's it. That's Ace Ventura. So what are your overall thoughts?
It held up more than I thought it was going to.
Right.
And again, like good laughs per second. As a movie as a whole, I'm like pretty meh.
Yeah, I mean it's a comedy, but none of these comedies have great storylines that end well. Like Blades of Glory was hilarious, but what the fuck?
No, and you're absolutely right. But it's like, come on, guys, like try a little bit, you know?
At the end of Blades of Glory, they literally fly away.
I'm okay with that. Because to me, that still makes more sense than a pet detective.
I mean, fair. Hey man, whatever works for you.
No, I mean, I definitely enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would because I truly did not think that the humor would age well.
No, I'm glad.
And I don't mean like in terms of like being offside. I just mean like that's not funny anymore, you know?
I find this really funny because I feel like Tim Robinson is a newer Jim Carrey, and you love that kind of stuff.
I do have a note here that says like at one point, I think it's when he walks into the party, I'm like, this is a Tim Robinson bit, 100%. Like everybody's like, you know, very stiff, and then there's one guy who comes and he's chaos, right? Like he shakes up the environment. It's very Tim Robinson for sure.
It's also got like Eric Andre vibes in it, you know?
No,
like,
for sure. And I think the difference is more that like they're more random, but Jim is more like, again, with the physical comedy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that was a very big thing back then. It was slapstick. It was like, how can I move my body to be funny? Like to be different, to be weird, right?
Right.
Whereas I feel like Tim Robinson is more like, this guy's just fucking weird.
Yeah,
You know?
I mean that's fair. Yeah, I guess like some of the differences, like if you go back to the great white shark scene when he's on the ledge and about to fall in the water, and they get a close up shot of his face, and he's like just moving his lips around in really strange
100%.
ways, and there's all sorts of that stuff happening in this movie. Alrighty, we're gonna take a break, and then we'll be back with some top scenes, the MVC, and our head to head. And we're back. Okay, so let's dive into some of our top scenes from the movie. Would you like to start? Kick us off.
You kind of glossed over it, and I was a little surprised because we both love a good pissing match. So there's the whole scene where he's in the apartment, right, and he's swinging the door open and closed, closed.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know. I thought that was really funny. Like you just kind of brushed over it, but it was more. It was a good demonstration, I guess, of his expertise, but also like it's him being loud and obnoxious and in your face. And to me, like that just always gets it always gets a laugh out of me. Like just, you know, all right, boys, like put him away, shake your dicks, like this pissing contest is over, you know?
I do like the whole setup for that bit too, because I think Einhorn's like, what's the point? And he's like, only this.
Yeah,
and he just starts like,
it's so good.
Like it's so great.
That's really good. We already talked about it, but the fake dog is also so funny to me.
You like the fake dog?
I do like the fake dog because again, like I think it's because I didn't really have much memory of this, having not seen it since I was a kid. So to me, it painted a picture of like what to expect, but also I just like it when like movies can catch me off guard like that, you know? Because as he's walking down the hallway, I'm like, oh, this stupid fucking guy, right? Like, like he's out of his mind.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh, he's kind of like out of his mind, but like out of his mind like a fox. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I also love the guy who's playing. I don't know what that person's ex who stole the dog. He's a complete bum drunk, and he's like, "Hey, get away from the door!" The way he's talking to the dog.
Yeah, right.
He's like, "Quit sitting there."
Also, the fucking trope in movies where like you can be parked fucking in the next city, but Buddy is still gonna get to your car to smash it up in a matter of 30 seconds.
That's like that. That's a great thing from the other guys when the guy chases them down.
We're 40 blocks. Yeah.
A couple of ones that I liked off the top. I think you just gave me two. I'll give you two. I love, like, for me, talking with his butt. Yeah, I am susceptible to low hanging fruit like that. Yeah, it works for me every single time. I laugh. Do you have a breath mint or some Banaka? It's so good. And then I really enjoy him doing Kirk in the tank.
Yeah,
Captain's log, and he's literally quoting one of the Star Trek movies where they go back in time to Earth and need to like take a blue whale from Earth back to the future or something like that. So he's quoting directly from that movie. So if you know that too, like it works on another level.
Fuck? That reminds me, it's so funny that you say like Star Trek and they had to save a whale. And it's like a quote in a show or a movie, maybe you remember this, where they're making fun of Star Trek and they're like, oh, like, what, were they going to go save a bunch of fucking whales again? Like, do they do that frequently?
No, that's just one of the movies, and it's just like weird. It's like, why?
But does that quote like ring a bell to you?
It does ring a bell, and I can't remember what the way you said it. It sounds like Mark Wahlberg, but maybe you just did a Mark Wahlberg kind of voice. What else you got for top scenes?
I mean, the butt thing. Like again, it didn't work at first for me, but you know me, like the longer a bit goes on, the more I buy into it.
Right.
Porking your wife, like we talked about that, but referring to it as porking will always get a laugh out of me.
Yeah, I like the whole snooping and then getting eaten by the shark scene. Mainly the lead up to it, just the way he's acting like he's Ethan Hunt.
It's a good
just so
build-up.
funny.
And again, like, just because I don't know what's going on doesn't mean I'm not like curious. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, he piqued my intrigue. I want to know what was on the other side of that door.
Yeah. Well, come on. He found out with his hacker buddy that this guy's bought a lot of large aquatic animal supplies.
Again, that scene. Shout out that hacker guy in his lair.
Yeah, hacker guy. That's a Cannibal Corpse concert.
Do you think he likes the band upstairs, or is it better if he doesn't like it? Because then people wouldn't suspect that his lair is underneath there.
Do you think maybe he's actually a roadie for the band? So he makes his lair wherever the band goes.
That's a good one.
So like he can, I picture him just being like under the stage.
Yeah, and it's like he's actually the drummer, so when it's his turn, he gets brought up to the stage
That's
and just goes
awesome.
ham.
That'd be so good. Any last ones for you?
I think we covered like the standout
Last
ones.
shout out for the sunflower seeds. Disgusting habit bit. That's just good. That's just
Shout
good
out to
writing.
Courtney Cox, our cat, too. She was really good in this.
Yeah. All right. Most valuable comedian. I think it's easy. Like there's only one in this movie basically, and it's Jim Carrey.
Yeah, like
the entire movie rides on him.
Yeah, 100%.
Which is like, it's very interesting because we'll get into head to head now, but this movie kind of kicks off this fucking run for Jim Carrey. Like he was on In Living Color prior to this, and then in '94 he does Ace Ventura, The Mask, and Dumb and Dumber all in the same year.
I do remember that fact actually. It's wild.
And then in the next like 4 to 5 years, he's doing Batman Forever, Ace Ventura: Nature Calls, The Cable Guy, Liar Liar, and The Truman Show.
Damn.
It's like this guy just goes on a massive tear after this. So let's do head to head. Do you think The Mask is better than this movie?
I don't know. That's a tough one. Honestly, I would say they're like pretty on par with each other.
Okay. How about Dumb and Dumber?
No, Dumb and Dumber to me is like all time.
Yeah, Dumb and Dumber 100% by a mile. Let's go through some of the other Ace Ventura movies before we get to other things that came out in '94. Sure. Batman Forever, based on just how ridiculous of a movie that is.
I actually never saw that movie.
It's like, it's not actually a comedy, but it's just funny because of how ridiculous and campy and corny the movie is.
Or maybe I did. What's the one with Mr. Freeze?
That's the next one. That's Batman and Robin.
Okay, that's
but
the one.
You get Tommy Lee Jones in this one, playing the Joker, but playing Two-Face.
Sure.
He plays Two-Face, but he's doing it as if he's the Joker. Okay, Ace Ventura: Nature Calls.
Is that the one where he comes out of the elephant's ass?
Yes.
Or the rhino?
The mechanical rhino.
I think that one's funnier.
Yeah, me too, because I also just like love the slinky bit.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. Right at the end.
It's good.
Cable Guy.
Cable Guy is interesting because it's like a dark comedy, right?
Yeah.
Like I consider that in the same vein as like A Futile and Stupid Gesture.
That's a good comp.
Where I think the funny parts are really funny, and I think the movie is better as a whole. But I think laughs per second, it's Ace Ventura.
Okay. I totally buy that. Liar Liar.
Ooh.
I'm gonna go Liar Liar, to be honest, I think.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I don't feel I can make a fair assessment. I haven't seen that movie in so long.
I like really enjoy Liar Liar. The whole part with the fucking blue pen. He's writing all over his face and stuff.
I don't know why I get
Farts
that one
in the
mixed
elevator.
up.
It's so good.
I get that one and Me, Myself, and Irene mixed up. I don't know why.
See, that's one I haven't seen a lot of. Is that the one where he like forgets who he is or whatever?
I think he's got like a split personality.
Yeah, that's
right?
it. Yeah, and he's got the 3 kids.
I don't know. Maybe is that Liar Liar? Who's to say?
It's not Liar Liar. I can tell you that. And then Truman Show.
Truman Show's like not a comedy at all.
I guess that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it? I haven't seen it in a while. Okay.
Great movie.
Moving on from Jim Carrey movies, I got a couple ones that came out in '94 that I was like, oh, okay.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever seen it, but have you seen Junior?
No.
Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito, and Arnold's pregnant.
No, I definitely haven't seen that.
Add it to
Based
the
on
list.
the premise alone, that's funnier.
Yeah. The Santa Claus.
Like the Tim Allen?
Yeah.
I love that movie.
Same.
That movie is like 10 times better than this, in my opinion.
100%. Flintstones.
No, hang on. Flintstones or Viva Rock Vegas?
No, the original one, not Viva Rock Vegas. The original one.
No, but I kind of want to go back and rewatch that now.
And then just for me, Mighty Ducks D2.
I mean, I'm like,
it was hard to find comedies in this era because I didn't know any of them.
No, for sure. And honestly, like I'm pretty whelmed on like the Mighty Ducks movies.
Right. I'm gonna forget you said that. Alrighty, let's get into writer's room for the week. We haven't done this in a while because I guess on our bonus episodes we didn't do it. So
correct.
Bringing writer's room back. Rip and I have brand new ideas. Do you want to go first, since you said you sort of have one?
I will go first. On our walk over, I did admit to you that I did not do it. I looked at it on my phone like several times over the last, like, I don't know how many weeks you gave me this ago.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I know. I don't even have to look at my phone or my notes right now. It's Jude Law, a sci-fi comedy, and a taxidermy owl.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Let's figure it out. Let's do it together.
Okay. So I'm going to set the scene here. So we're thinking like Blade Runner, like future here. Okay.
Okay.
Jude Law is a detective.
Yep.
And this is like totally not just ripping off Pet Detective, but he's got a sidekick.
Okay.
And he doesn't know he has a sidekick until that taxidermy owl comes to life one night.
Ooh.
Right?
Interesting.
Now, I'm thinking like this taxidermy owl is not like the only taxidermy owl that comes to life. Like all taxidermy owls come to life.
Oh, so he's got like a connection with all taxidermy owls.
All taxidermy owls in the world of like 2,300, they come to
Are
life.
there a lot?
There's a lot, yeah.
Is this like one of those futures where like people got like really into collecting taxidermy owls?
Absolutely,
so they're just
yeah.
fucking everywhere?
It is one of those futures. Yeah, we've
Love
discussed
it.
these
I'm in.
futures.
I'm
There's
in.
a lot. So I'm thinking there's this whole like alternate world here where there's like taxidermy owls and they fight rats and rat kings.
I love this. Yeah, I'm in.
Okay. So the rat kings are overpowering the taxidermy owls.
Yeah.
And this taxidermy owl needs Jude Law's help
Yeah.
to defeat the rat king.
Well, because they're partners.
Yeah, because they're partners.
And-
they become partners because of the rat king, right? They have to take down the rat king together.
So, but you said that the. Oh, okay. So Jude Law has to help take down the Rat King.
Yeah.
It's not like the taxidermy owl's been helping Jude Law all along.
No,
And then
I'm
one day
thinking more it's
reveals
like-
himself.
It's like a classic like movie trope where, you know, Jude Law like accidentally ends up with this owl and he doesn't know. He's like, oh, it's kind of a stupid owl. I don't really like this. And he puts it like in his like closet. And then one night when he's sleeping, like the owl comes to life and it's like, what the fuck? Like I'm in a closet and it's like
Yeah.
banging on the door with his beak and he's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
what's going on in there? And then next thing you know, boom, they're like, whoa, like taxidermy.
You gotta help me get the Rat King.
And yeah, he's like,
Maybe one of the powers is like the owl's like, look into my eyes, and like Jude Law goes to do it, but like he's like, no, closer, and like he has got to get like right into his eyes, and then he can see through the other taxidermy owl eyes.
Oh, that's
in
good.
The,
I like
or throughout
that.
the world.
I like
So
that.
he's like, yo, go check out what my brother over in fucking
yeah, that other
in,
place.
in City B2 Mega Structure 5 that's doing.
That's really good. That is exactly how I envisioned they would be named.
Awesome. I
I
love
can't wait to listen to this on rewatch and be like, holy shit.
Well, hey.
Take acid before the pod.
it. No, we just came up with a ridiculous premise. I love it. Anything else for it?
No?
No, you got nothing.
No, I think I'm pretty happy with
How's
how
it
that turned
end?
out.
What's the big conclusion?
I'm thinking obviously they take down the Rat King and then all of the owls are set free and they don't turn into taxidermy owls anymore. They're just regular owls.
So they get freed and become
I think it's
real
like
owls.
I think the taxidermy part maybe is like a curse from the Rat King. That's what I'm
Rat King
thinking that.
curse.
Rat King curse. Yeah,
Rat King
obviously.
hates owls.
Rats do hate owls, right?
Yeah.
I have to imagine
It's a whole
owls.
predator prey situation there.
Exactly, right? It's all making sense now.
Yeah, it adds up for me.
As I'm saying it, it sounds insane, but on rewatch, I bet I would watch the shit out of this.
I'd follow along.
I would.
I'd be
I
curious.
mean, I would try to follow along.
Yeah,
I would follow along, but I would.
Fuck, I don't know what's going on here.
I think I'd be into
I
it.
think I think we have Zack Schneider pegged to direct too.
Oh, then I'm out. I'm thinking more like Daniel Day-Lewis for the Rat King.
Yeah, directed by Denny. You want Denny for this one?
Maybe. It's a shame. This is a big Tony Scott movie. R.I.P.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been a good one. All right, how about we do my writer's room now?
I don't know how you're gonna top that, but yeah.
I had a plan to just like whatever you said, I'll do the sequel to because we gave each other very similar topics.
That's super easy. Return of the Rat King. Let's go.
Yeah, you gave me Jake Johnson sci-fi comedy and the thing of like a steak.
Well, I mean,
So really it could be like prequel. It could be
Yeah.
younger Jude Law building up to the Rat King and he uses steak to lure him or
to
something.
lure the Rat Kings do love steak.
Yeah.
It's the food chain, right? I mean, you got owl, you
It's a
got
circle
rat,
of
you got
life.
steak. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the Lion King.
Jude
That's what
Law's
we're doing.
back.
We're doing
So
the Lion King.
Jude Law's back, so he's probably not doing a sequel.
Have they done Lion King in space yet? That's probably what this is.
I
gonna
think
be.
so, yeah.
All right, so here's what mine is. Jake plays a guy named Torino.
Okay.
Yeah. And he is a chef at an intergalactic space lane restaurant. So think of this restaurant as like something you'd see sort of off the side of the road between towns. Like, you know, like Midwest, there's like a little restaurant off the side of the road. It's like that, but in space. You know, it's like in between planets,
Okay.
in between galaxies, that sort of stuff. So you get a lot of intergalactic fare through there. And I had two ways that this story could go. One day he cooks a steak so damn good that this intergalactic alien warlord makes him his personal chef.
Oh.
And now he's got to go gallivanting across the galaxy, serving this alien warlord, as he commits atrocities all throughout the universe.
Okay.
And then the second one was maybe one day like a gang of intergalactic ruffians take his coworker, and his coworker is his love interest. So he mounts this mission to hunt them down and take them out, and he does that by cooking a steak with poison in it and convincing them to eat it.
I love the idea of him like going through so much trouble with like an original plan that just doesn't work.
Yeah.
And then he's like, okay, maybe I just poison his steak and he eats it.
Yeah, okay, fine. I'm just gonna poison the snake.
That's it, yeah.
the steak. I could picture Jake Johnson being.
That seems
being a
very
little
on brand for him. I like so far. I
intergalactic
like
chef.
that one. Yeah.
Okay, all right. You want to build on that at all? Or just call it quits there.
Sorry, do you want me to build on the
No, I'm just kidding.
on the concept of serving
Yeah.
him a steak and him dying? Like, I mean, I guess he doesn't die.
No, on any of the things I gave. Alrighty. Do you have a prompt for me for next week's writers' room?
No. You give me yours, and then by the time you're done, I'll give you one.
Okay, so you're just gonna give me the same thing that I give you.
No, I'm not.
All right, I give you Tom Hanks,
Okay.
a buddy cop movie,
Okay.
and I want you to cast his partner. And Tom lives in a tiny home.
Oh.
Yeah.
I do like that.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna give you Anna Kendrick.
Okay.
I'm gonna give you a noir comedy,
Noir.
and the object is going to be.
You're looking around the room.
I am looking around.
I see you. A microphone.
A floppy disk.
Oh, okay, cool. Sick. I'm in.
There's no floppy disks in the room, so. Ha.
Fair. You got me on that one. And would you like to tell the fine folks at home what movie we're doing next week?
We are going to do Adam Sandler's Not So Classic. That's My Boy.
Awesome.
Because to me, it is a classic.
I'm so in for that. It's about time we've done a Sandler movie on the pod. You know, the bracket wouldn't be the same without a Sandler movie, I think.
It wouldn't be the same.
Yeah. Alrighty. So that's it for this week. If you liked the episode, share with your friends. And yeah, we'll see you next time.
Well, if you didn't like the episode, share it with your friends anyway.
Yeah, they don't need to listen to it on volume. Like they can mute it. Just play it.
They could, or you guys could listen to it together and make fun of chaps. You know, I'm also okay with that.
Fair.